For more on this, I'm joined by Maricruz, Magowan, Vice President of the National Economists Club. Good to have you back on the show again. You know, we've been talking about this now for well over a week, and at times I become optimistic that a deal could be in place, and at other times we say, well, how are you going to get everybody to agree? And there's always going to be someone who disagrees. Should we be optimistic or pessimistic that a deal is ultimately going to work out?
I think we should be optimistic because for many, many reasons, not only because countries finally are agreeing, there is a why they are agreeing. Before we had the developed countries and the developing countries, and they didn't have the same interests. Now it's different. The developed countries are also interested in these regional trade agreements. They also have something to gain. They are going to concede some things they would have required before in order to get an agreement, because they are going to be in a different kind of economy, which is going to be led by blocks of trade agreements. I don't know about Cuba. Unfortunately, Cuba has been behind in human rights and in many other issues, like 50 years back, 30 years back. And I hope that these 3-4 countries are not going to stop these negotiations, that after so many years, 12 years after the Doha round, they have a chance to succeed.
Look, I mean, we're reading a lot of stuff in the press.
Yes.
And I know how these deals work. There's discussions in the back rooms. What is the real issue with this deal? What's holding it back, do you think?
I think Cuba is trying to take advantage to benefit, getting rid of the embargo from the United States, and is trying to corner basically the United States to agree on that. I don't think the US will agree on that because, as I said, we are talking about trade, we are not talking about human rights. And if they want to improve and if they want the embargo to be lifted, then they can do it by treating their citizens better, by giving them more liberty, by not having imprisoned people that just disagree with them. It's in their hands to change this. But they cannot force the US to change the way they think about democracy.
I mean, I'm a little surprised it's become a US and Cuba discussion, but what about the other countries? I mean, they all stand to benefit from this deal, don't they? I mean, this is a global deal. We're going to have new rules. We're going to do in place, better tariffs. We're going to have lowering trade barriers. It's good for the entire world. Isn't that enough for people to say, look, this is a good thing overall? Who are these other countries that are standing by Cuba in this particular instance?
Well, the countries that are called the Bolivarian Revolution, which is Venezuela, for example, Bolivia, Ecuador, and Nicaragua, that are more or less in cohorts, let's say, with Cuba. There are very few countries, and I hope all the other countries are going to put pressure on them and let them see that they are just being silly and being irresponsible in this way.
We played a clip earlier from the WTO saying that if this deal doesn't get done, if it fails, it really puts in the real question as to the future of the WTO. Do you agree that this is a make-or-break moment for the organization?
I don't think it will break it, but it's going to be pretty bad for the organization. We are talking about a 19-year-old organization. After the Doha round at the end of 2001, they couldn't agree in this sense in anything, basically. This is their first chance. I think it will be pretty bad. I don't think the WTO will not disappear if they don't get into an agreement, but I think they are going to lose an opportunity, a unique opportunity to get something that will benefit everybody. As you said, almost $1 trillion, about 21 million jobs, especially in developing countries. What's wrong about that?
Yeah. Well, look, I want to be optimistic, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the next 12 to 24 hours, and in hopes that there might be a deal. Maricruz, Magowan, thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil.
Always good to have you on the show for your insights.